the prophet Daniel. He is best known for surviving the lion's den and interpreting King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. However, his most mysterious prophecy is found in Daniel 9, which provides a timeline of past and future events with surprising accuracy. In 538 BC, Daniel prayed with deep sorrow, fasting and wearing sackcloth and ashes, knowing that Israel's 70-year Babylonian captivity, as prophesied by Jeremiah, was nearing its end. The captivity had begun in 606 BC and was set to conclude in 536 BC. During his earnest prayer, the archangel Gabriel appeared to him, revealing the profound vision recorded in Daniel 9 verses 24 to 26. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, the Jews, and upon thy holy city, Israel, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy, referring to the coming of the Messiah. This prophecy declared that 70 weeks remained for God's dealings with Israel before the arrival of the Messiah. To understand this profound and mysterious message, we must break down the details of the scripture. To understand the prophecy, we first need to examine the 70 weeks mentioned in Daniel. These weeks are divided into 3 parts, as explained in verses 25 and 26. 1. 7 weeks from the decree to rebuild Jerusalem to the start of the rebuilding. 2. 62 weeks from the rebuilding of the city to the coming of the Messiah. 3. 1 final week, completing the 70 weeks described in verse 24. Let's focus on the first 2 parts, totaling 69 weeks. To determine the length of these weeks, we note that in March, Nisan, of 445 BC, King Artaxerxes issued a decree to rebuild Jerusalem, Nehemiah 2 verses 1 to 8. The city was fully rebuilt by 396 BC, a span of 49 years, which corresponds to the first 7 weeks. This indicates that each week represents 7 years. The next 62 weeks, leading to the coming of the Messiah, equal 434 years, since score means 20, so 3 score and 2 equals 62. Using the same calculation of 1 week equaling 7 years, the total time for these 62 weeks is 434 years. The first 7 weeks, followed by the next 62 weeks, total 69 weeks or 483 years. Now, when we search our history, we will find that King Artaxerxes issued his decree in 445 BC, and Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday occurred on April 2, 30 AD. This spans 475 years. But if you look both at the figures, you can see an 8-year difference. Did the Bible miscalculate? Absolutely not. The difference arises from the calendars used. The Roman or Julian calendar consists of 365.24 days per year, whereas the Bible follows a prophetic calendar of 360 days per year, with 12 months of 30 days each. It is believed that before the Great Flood during Noah's time, the world adhered to this prophetic 360-day calendar. However, after the floodwaters receded, the Earth's orbit around the Sun shifted, leading to the adoption of the Roman or Julian calendar. Using this prophetic calendar, the 69 weeks are calculated with precision. Now, that covers the first 2 parts, making up a total of 69 weeks. Next, let's move on to the third part, the final week that completes the full 70 weeks of Daniel's prophecy. This last week is divided into 2 sections. Since 1 week represents 7 years, each section is equally split into 3.5 years. The first 3.5 years can be found in the following verse. Then in Daniel 9 verse 26 states, and after 62 weeks, again using our conversion rate of score equals 20, so 62 weeks, the Messiah shall be cut off. Note in here that after 62 weeks means that the whole 69 weeks has passed already. Then the Messiah shall be cut off. To look into this, we have to know about the ministry of Jesus Christ, since this part refers to his crucifixion and death. Jesus began his ministry at age 30 and it lasted 3.5 years, exclusively for the Jews, with few Gentiles involved at that time. When Jesus met a Canaanite woman in Matthew chapter 15, Verse 24 it says that, "But he answered and said, I am not sent to you Gentiles, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." The 3.5-year duration of Jesus' ministry is determined by the number of Passovers, which is celebrated every year, recorded during that time. First Passover, John 2 verse 13. Second Passover, John 5 verse 1. Third Passover, John 6 verse 4, and lastly around half a year before the fourth Passover. This 3.5-year corresponds to half a prophetic week, bringing the total fulfillment to 69.5 weeks after Jesus the Messiah was cut off. So what about the remaining half week? This is what happened. When the Jews rejected the Messiah, grace was extended to the Gentiles, non-Jews, as stated in Romans 11 verse 11. This event paused the 70-week prophecy at 69.5 weeks. The duration of the Gentile age is not fixed, but it will conclude with the rapture. God's dealings differ between the two groups. For Gentiles, he works on an individual basis, with salvation depending on personal faith, Ezekiel 18 verse 20. In contrast, God deals with the Jews as a nation, as seen throughout the Bible, Deuteronomy 7 verse 6. After the rapture, grace will return to the Jews to fulfill the remaining half-week, 3.5 years. This final period is described in Revelation 11 verse 3, where 2 witnesses will prophesy for 1,260 days or 3.5 years, completing Daniel's 70-week prophecy. Can you see how accurate it is? This is truly amazing. These 2 witnesses are actually prophets, and their sole mission is to convince the Jews, through miracles, signs, and wonders, that Jesus is the Messiah they rejected 2,000 years ago. Revelation 11 describes these 2 prophets as having unique and powerful abilities. If we are familiar with the major prophets of the Old Testament, we can discern their identities. They are Elijah and Moses. The passage states that fire proceeds from their mouths to consume their enemies, and that they have the power to shut the heavens, causing drought. Abilities once demonstrated by Elijah. Additionally, they can turn water into blood and bring plagues upon the earth, just as Moses did before. Once Moses and Elijah have completed their prophetic mission and ascend to heaven, the Jews will have no choice but to acknowledge them as true prophets, messengers of the one true God, and finally recognize Jesus as the true Messiah. The 70-week prophecy of Daniel is a remarkable testament to God's precise plan, accurately fulfilled throughout history. By watching Israel and the Jewish people, we can discern the unfolding of God's timeline for the future. So, what do you think about all of these?